My name is Bailey Winnick Stafford, and I am a film student at Full Sail University. Uh, I love film. Film is something that I just can't imagine my life without, and something that really made me really love film is special effects makeup. So special effects makeup, anything that has like practical effects that are done by somebody, and it's not like, okay, everything's done by somebody, but that's not in a computer and is in real life that you can touch. I love. It's just something that I want to do, and it just makes me really happy. And the fact that I can sometimes create these crazy things, it makes me happy because got crazy stuff going on up here. I feel like, the world should see the crazy things that my mind comes up with. But the idea is to do something with this fun little prosthetic that I've learned from my amazing instructor, Craig Hicks. He's really cool. If you don't know who he is, I suggest you look him up and you go and see some of the cool films that he's worked on because they're pretty amazing. I don't have a lot of surface area to work with here, but I think actually that doesn't look too bad. And we can always cut it up. Alright, apply the prosthetic on this side of my face. Sorry, I'm looking in the mirror that I have over here, but I think I'm going to apply the prosthetic in this side of my face. It's a nice little gaping hole that we can make it pussy, gross, or red or something. I don't know, but something gross. Like, I think I might trim this up a little bit and apply some of these boils and stuff on the edges on different places of my face. Like, see, like this part, this can be trimmed a lot. Like, some of this stuff here can be pulled off of it. And also, it does crack. I mean, like, this is not a foolproof thing, but these prosthetics really are nice.
Alright, so I'm going in here with some scissors and cutting the edges off of this prosthetic to make it smaller and also fix the edging to make it fit on my face a little smoother. And once that's finished, I just kind of took the access and looked for places I can laid it across my face. And I also made sure that the prosthetic that we trimmed fit my face pretty nicely, which I thought it did. So now that the prosthetic is basically cut up and I've sized to my face, I'm going in with some Spirit Gum from Nye. It's a really nice Spirit Gum. It's pretty great. It holds on these prosthetics very well in my opinion, but I'm making sure that I'm covering every inch of this prosthetic with it. You don't have to be as thorough as I was, but I was just making sure. And then I also went and just did a general circle from where I knew that the prosthetic was going to go on. You don't have to do that either, but I just wanted to make sure that this was going to stay on. The piece was a little heavy, so that's why I wanted to make sure I covered it in enough Spirit Gum. So you have to make sure that the Spirit Gum has enough time to dry. This is sped up, so you didn't see me waiting, but I did wait a little bit. And there were some places where the Spirit Gum was not holding down completely, so I just added a little more, waited a little bit, and then pushed it to my skin, and then it held perfectly fine. So now I'm going on to the second part of my face, which is just using those edges that I trimmed off, and I kind of split them up. There's my cat Mickey, don't mind her. But they fit pretty nicely, and I thought they added a great addition to the piece, and I thought it'd be a waste to just throw them away. So now I'm going in with this liquid latex and flower combination. It is literally the same exact thing that these prosthetics are made out of, and I'm using it sort of as a pro pomade a little bit to kind of fuse where my skin and these prosthetics meet. I'm using a flat, small spatula to apply it because the product that I made is a little thick, but you kind of want it to be thick in order for it to stay on your face. And I think that it did such a great job. It also helped keep the prosthetic on my face even better. I'm making sure to get this little pro pomade homemade mixture into every place that is going to be seen basically on camera. I planned to put my hair down, so I didn't put it where my ear is because I didn't think there was a need to be, since my hair was going to be there, and it was mostly just for this video anyway. But if I were to do this on somebody, you most best believe I would go all the way around this prosthetic. But I also didn't want to have to deal with my hair being there, and I did not want to have to rip off my sideburns. It's a little painful. Also guys, I don't know if you can tell, but I'm literally crying in this because that liquid latex is like burning my eye. There was like tears streaming down, and I kept trying to like fan my eye because that liquid latex was like fuming. I mean, It's a give and pull when you work with special effects makeup, but I will say that's something to keep in mind if you are going to be working around a client's eyes, that some of these products do have things that will make your eyes burn and make your eyes water. So maybe, talk to your client and give them a heads up beforehand, or let them know, or maybe look for an alternative, But I also know Pro Pomade does also have the same exact effect when I was using it before on somebody. It also made my eyes water, so it's just like a give or take thing. It's just the stuff they use to keep it liquid. So this is basically getting to the end of my little mixture. You can tell it's drying up because it's starting to get a little crumbly. But these pieces right here on my face on the other side really didn't need it. I kind of just went over it just to make sure that they were going to stay on. So now I'm going in with this Kryolan Rubber Grease Pro palette. I got it from my wonderful instructor, Craig Hicks. And it's basically just used on rubber things that like liquid latex and stuff. And it's just way better to work with versus using like a cream-based thing. Alcohol paints are also really good to work on liquid latex things as well. But this rubber mask grease paint is just so great. It does show a little more pinker and vibrant before, but after you powder it, it just sets in super nice. Also, I had to switch from that super tiny brush. I don't know what I was thinking. I was using that small brush to scoop the product out of the container and then mix it together because these paints are able to be mixed together and make any color that you need. So I'm using this pink. It's kind of like a bubblegum pink, I will say. I'm using it as a base to cover all of the prosthetic, and then after that I'm going to start going in with some of the same variation of this color, just mixed with the red and just getting deeper and deeper, just to add details that I need. So now I'm going in with a slightly darker pink shade around the edge of the prosthetic to make it look like it's really irritated, and then I'm going to use that to blend it throughout the rest of the prosthetic. Once I got all the way around, I'm going back in with that big fluffy brush that was covered in the light pink to just kind of help blend it out and make it seem like there's more depth and it looks really irritated and gross. I'm starting to pull that darker color into the center of the prosthetic to kind of fill in those little crevices that I have, and it helps with the shading and shadowing. And like I said earlier, using that flour and liquid latex around the edges of this prosthetic really helps. When I turn to the side, it really looks like that prosthetic is like coming on my face and that my face is like super swollen and gross. I'm making sure to go in around the other side of my face with the dark pink to make sure that this side also looks like it's protruding from it and has more depth as well. Just to make sure, everything matches. I want it to look real and authentic as much as possible. So now I'm going in with a little bit of a darker shade red. I believe this is like one that's already in the kit. I didn't mix this together. It's just like the one next to the red. However, this time, instead of applying it around the edge of the prosthetic, I wanted to focus it more to the center to make it look like it's more sore and irritated. Also, to make it look like it's been exposed to oxygen a little bit longer, I even go in with an even darker red around the edging eventually, and this is just to help get a little bit more of the dimension for it. I think it just adds a nice look to it, and it makes it look a lot more irritated. And I didn't add it around fully, I just added it on certain spots where I think the shadow and lighting would be hitting it. And I don't know if you've noticed this, but I've been using one brush to blend and one brush to apply the product on. And it just works out really good. It's because you don't want your blending brush to have all that product on it. You want to have that one that you put the product on, and then use the blending one to just move that product around. So that way it's easier and you get that look that you want, and it's not too heavy in certain spots. So now I'm going in powdering this. I forgot to record it, but I already powdered the big part of the prosthetic. That's why it seems a little more dull and less shiny. I'm just going in and filling it to make sure that there's no more wet spots from the grease paint. After I powdered it, I felt that it looked really flat and that I needed to go in and added some more dimension. So this is when I go in with the even darker red, and I just put that in places that have really deep crevices and places that just need shading. And instead of switching to my blending brush, I use this brush the entire time, and I just kind of move that product around as much as possible. because I already powdered this prosthetic, it was really nice, the look that I was getting from brushing this product on, because it was kind of like already dry. It was a super dry area, so the paint was kind of soaking up in the powder, so it was easy to get a nice blend. And I think that doing this really helped out a lot in making this look even grosser and just making it look more real. I think it really helped bring out places that needed to be highlighted, and it helped the places that needed that contrast to make it look less flat. I think it just helped overall and improved the look completely. I then made sure to go into the other side and make sure that it also had the contrast and it didn't look as flat, because, you know, stuff isn't flat, it is sticking out of my face, and I want to make sure that it looks like that from every angle that you see it, because that's important to me and that is what makes it look real. Look at that, it just looks 10 times better. It looks like it's super sore and gross, like it looks painful. I'm just super happy with how it looks, and I went back in with the blending brush just to go over it one more time to make sure it didn't look too heavy in certain places. Once I was happy with that, it was time to paint the pus. I went in with the lightest yellow in the palette, and I kind of just used that in any part that was a deep hole or crack, and it kind of just helped make it look even more nasty to kind of tie it in a little bit more. Then I go in with a stipple sponge to kind of add some texture to it, a little more texture than what's there, of course. And I make sure to cover as much of this prosthetic with this pus looking as possible, but not to overpower it. I wasn't too happy with how white it was looking, so I went in with some yellow to kind of make it look grosser and give it that look that I wanted. And of course, going in with a stipple sponge to blend versus using a brush. Then I decided that I needed to go in with some red because I felt like it was losing its color, and I was really glad that I did this because the red and the yellow mixed together and it made this little bit kind of like orange look all over. Then I started to go in on the edges of the prosthetic and blend out the product to kind of make it look like my face was starting to turn red, and this kind of helped blend it and make it look like my skin was starting to turn irritated as well, and I thought that that gave it such a great look in addition to the piece. Okay, the reason that I started doing that to my mouth is I was freeing up the corners from underneath the prosthetic because it was stuck underneath the liquid latex and flour. So be smarter than me and don't cover up the corners of your mouth. I then made sure to add some of that yellow and white, beige, I don't know what color you would call that pus mixture together on the other side just to make it look gross as well, and I think that it added even more to the piece. And then I blended it out with the stipple sponge just to make it not look too intense. And so now I'm going and powdering the rest of the prosthetic to lock in that paint job that we did, and this prosthetic is still painted to this day. Then I decided that I needed to add fake blood because, you know, fake blood just looks good. I'm not one of those people who like to drown their prosthetics in fake blood, but I do like to add a little dab or two. I think that it just helps it look good, and oh, I also forgot I dropped it on this top. I'm so sad. That top will never be white again. But again, I'm just going in with enough, not too much, just enough blood, not trying to make that look like the staple of the piece. The piece itself is the gross, disgusting, allergic, whatever we want to call this reaction. And that's it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed my fun little video.